Site for Wight, talking news for Friday the 18th of December 2020.
This is Chris, reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Victory for Island's MP over unwanted greenfield housing development. Mr. Seeley, who has led a group of MPs campaigning nationally to reverse unrealistic and damaging housing targets, has been told by the Secretary of State for Housing, Robert Jenrick, that the proposed controversial algorithm that dictated the scale and location of house building has now been scrapped. If the proposals had gone ahead, the island would have seen over 1,000 new homes built each year, which, Mr. Seeley argued, would have damaged the local environment and not addressed the housing needs of the local population. Mr. Seeley said, "These houses would not have been for islanders. We do not have the infrastructure for them, and they would damage both our quality of life and our economy." Welcoming today's news, Mr. Seeley said he would continue to lobby government to ensure that new housing was built on brownfield sites. Mr. Seeley added, "This is good news. I'm grateful to ministers for listening to members of the public, councillors and MPs. I am sure MPs will want to look at the rejigged plans in detail. But this is an initial victory for those who care about their communities. Most of all, I want to thank parish and town councillors and individual islanders who wrote to the Secretary of State or took part in the consultation process. The government listened to our concerns and has acted on them." Despite the controversial 10,000 home target being dropped, Bob said that more action was still needed to make sure that new houses were built in a sustainable way. He plans to liaise with the Isle of Wight Council to seek out new designations that strike a balance between regeneration and preserving the island's environment. Mr. Seeley said, "While this is a very welcome announcement, the target to which we now revert is still too high. We need to stop speculative greenfield sprawl building on the island. We need to build well-designed, high-quality housing on brownfield sites in existing communities in appropriate numbers for islanders. Whilst this is an important initial victory, I will be working with others to make changes to any new proposed laws to give the island more flexibility and to allow us to overwhelmingly focus on urban regeneration. I always say that I can't promise to win every battle, but I will fight every battle on behalf of the island. This is a good result, but there is more to be done next year. We must also look at new protection for our countryside and landscape, whether by extending the AONB or by creating a new island park designation. I will be talking to the council about this in the coming months to see if we can agree a joint position. I hope we can.
This is Brian, reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Coronavirus pandemic leads to increase in surgery waiting times. An Isle of Wight health chief has said surgery waiting times are reducing, but the figure is still movable. As a result of the first national lockdown, the backlog for elective surgery at the Isle of Wight NHS Trust increased as all non-emergency procedures were stopped. Since then, steps have been taken to reduce the waiting list and get people treated as soon as possible in safety. Operation theatres have opened at the weekend, with more surgical teams being brought in to work. COVID measures have caused challenges in getting that backlog reduced. The number of patients now waiting for elective surgery who have waited between 40 and 52 weeks or more stands at 961, according to the Isle of Wight NHS Trust Chief Operating Officer Joe Smith. Mr. Smith described the waiting list figures as a movable feast, as more people will either come up into the 40 to 51 week and 52 week or more brackets after continuing to wait, while some will be knocked off the list after having their treatment. Speaking at a meeting of the Isle of Wight NHS Trust Board meeting, Mr. Smith did share good news as services made progress. The longest waiting patient for surgery has been taken off the list after waiting 94 weeks for their procedure. Now, the person at the top of the waiting list on the admitted surgery pathway has been waiting for 78 weeks. Other steps around St Mary's Hospital in Newport to reduce waiting times include the introduction of new MRI and CT scanners to recover services to be at and above pre-COVID operational potential.
Bird flu confirmed on the Isle of Wight. From Isle of Wight County Press. Iona. A confirmed case of bird flu has been found on a wild swan in Ryde, the Isle of Wight Council has announced. The news comes just hours after the lake had been cordoned off by police, who say they are supporting the local authority following a confirmed case in the area. A total of 7 dead swans had been reported in the last 2 weeks, 4 in the last few days, and Kay Ownsworth of Isle of Wight Bird Rehabilitation said she believed it could be due to the highly deadly bird flu. The council says each one was investigated and in only one case was the dead bird still present, and that bird was securely stored and reported to the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Councillor Adrian Whitaker said he had raised the alarm just after midnight and had been concerned with a delay in establishing a cordon some 12 hours later. He said that during that time, a remote-controlled boat club has been using the water. The council says avian influenza is unconnected with COVID-19, and Public Health England states the risk to the public is very low. A spokesperson for the Isle of Wight Council said, "We have received a confirmed case notification on a wild swan at Ryde, which means that avian influenza has been confirmed in the area. As birds will move about, this is not confined to any one location, but could be present wherever birds gather together. Avian influenza can be deadly to birds, but it has little direct impact on humans. Public Health England advises that the risk to the public health is very low, and the Food Standards Agency has said that on the basis of the current scientific evidence, avian influenza poses very low food safety risk for UK consumers. Avian influenza is unconnected with COVID-19. There have been several reports of dead birds on Ryde Canoe Lake since the government's alert about avian influenza was issued. Each one was investigated by the council. In only one case, the dead bird was still present. That bird was securely stored and reported to DEFRA. As a precaution, the footpaths around Ryde Canoe Lake will be closed off. We ask that, for the good of the birds, visitors to Ryde Canoe Lake or nearby water bodies do not attempt to feed the waterfowl at this time, as this may attract them to locations where they could spread infection, especially in areas where domestic birds might also be about. Anyone who finds dead wild birds should report them to DEFRA, the DEFRA helpline, on 03459 335577. We strongly recommend that people do not handle dead wild birds at this time, but seek advice from DEFRA. Or if the bird is on the council land, report it to the Isle of Wight Council on 01983 821 000. Routine precautions should be followed. Do not pick up or touch sick, dying or dead poultry or wild birds. Avoid contact with surfaces contaminated with bird faeces. Avoid untreated bird feathers, such as those found in the environment, and other bird waste. Maintain good personal hygiene with regular hand washing with soap and use of alcohol-based sanitisers. From December the 14th, it's been a legal requirement for all bird keepers to keep their birds housed or netted to prevent wild birds having access. Poultry and captive bird keepers are advised to be vigilant for any signs of disease in their birds and any wild birds and seek prompt advice from their vet if they feel concerned. They can help prevent avian flu by maintaining good biosecurity on their premises, including housing or netting all poultry and captive birds, cleansing and disinfecting clothing, footwear, equipment and vehicles before and after contact with poultry and captive birds, reducing the movement of people, vehicles or equipment to and from areas where poultry and captive birds are kept to minimise contamination from manure, slurry and other products, thoroughly cleaning and disinfecting housing at the end of the production cycle, keeping fresh disinfectant at the right concentration on all points where people should use it, such as farm entrances and before entering poultry and captive bird housing, minimising direct and indirect contact between poultry and captive birds and wild birds, including making sure all are fed and water is not accessible to wild birds.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the Isle of Wight Observer, headlined "Never Drink and Drive or E-Scoot." A woman arrested on suspicion of drink driving an e-scooter in Newport on Saturday night, that's December the 12th, will appear in court next month. A police spokesman confirmed a timely reminder that e-scooters are covered by the 1988 Road Traffic Act. This evening, the rider of the e-scooter found herself under arrest on suspicion of drink driving. The rider was subsequently charged and will appear in court in due course. The use of e-scooters while intoxicated will not be tolerated. Kaya Jordan, who's 20, of Herbert Road in New Milton, was stopped at around 10:30 on Saturday night. It is alleged that a person on an e-scooter drove through a red light on Pyle Street in Newport. Island Police recently issued a warning to e-scooter riders following a series of complaints just days after a trial was launched on the island. Several people have been photographed riding e-scooters on the dual carriageway, pavement and other illegal areas.
This is Patrina reading an article from the Isle of Wight Radio. New screens show A&E waiting times at St Mary's Hospital. Screens showing waiting times at St Mary's Hospital are now on display outside the Newport site. The electronic boards give an indication of the latest wait times for both the emergency department, A&E, and Urgent Treatment Centre. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust says it allows people to decide whether or not to wait to be seen by a clinician at the hospital or seek professional healthcare advice elsewhere. Joe Smythe, the Trust's Chief Operating Officer, said, "We want people to have the most up-to-date information so that they can make informed choices. These information boards will display the current waiting times in our emergency department and in our urgent treatment centre. They will remind people that there are alternatives if they do not wish to wait, and that these services can be accessed by calling NHS 111 first. This is another step in our ongoing journey of making our services more accessible and patient-focused." Our emergency department performance figures have improved significantly over the past 6 months. The public can support this improvement by remembering to call NHS 111 first for minor illnesses or injury. The wait times on the screens will complement the recently launched NHS 111 First campaign that encourages everyone to contact NHS 111 First for the right care in the right place. Unless it is a medical 999 emergency, the NHS is urging everyone to call 111 rather than turning up at the hospital. When people call NHS 111, they are taken through a series of questions which will determine the next course of action. This new scheme may result in a recommendation to visit a local pharmacy, an appointment is being made with a GP, or an arrival time being given for the urgent treatment centre or emergency department at St Mary's Hospital. This helps the hospital know who and when someone is due to attend either department. Samara Lamb, head of nursing for the urgent and emergency care, said, "The new screens displaying current emergency department, A&E, and urgent treatment centre will inform and encourage those with non-life-threatening emergency to seek the most appropriate service for their healthcare needs by calling 111 before presenting to either department." By nature of the services, average waiting times can change significantly based on the number of attendances and acuity of presentations. Therefore, to keep patients informed of average waiting times is major progress. It is hoped that the combined wait times on the electronic screens, in conjunction with NHS 111 First, will prevent people from having any unnecessarily long wait to be seen at the emergency department or urgent treatment centre. Those that do decide to attend the hospital can keep an eye on the wait times via a screen in each department. The Trust is also in the process of implementing the waiting times on the front page of their website, making them visible without even entering the hospital site.
This is Michael reading an article from the Isle of Wight Observer. Bishop Christopher to retire in April 2021. The Right Reverend Christopher Foster announced on Sunday, December the 13th, that he is to retire as Bishop of Portsmouth in April next year. Bishop Christopher, who is 67, had delayed his resignation to lead the Church of England diocese through the COVID pandemic. He will retire to Somerset with his wife Sally, who is a team rector in Fareham, where the couple currently live. He said, "It has been a privilege to serve as bishop in this diocese for over a decade. Because we are a small diocese with a family feel, our clergy and lay people have been able to collaborate effectively and respond quickly to changing circumstances, as the past year has shown. Over the past 10 years, I have seen courage, generosity and resourcefulness as our congregations have faithfully shared God's love through prayer, worship and serving others. I look forward to working with those fellow disciples over the coming months to continue discovering what the post-COVID church will look like as we renew our commitment to respond collaboratively in changing times." He added that the timing of his announcement shortly before Christmas was to ensure that the diocese will be without a bishop for the shortest time possible. He thanked everyone he had worked with during his time in the post. Bishop Christopher speaks nationally for the bishops on economic policy, benefits and welfare, and defence. In the House of Lords, where he has sat as a Lord Spiritual since 2014, he speaks particularly on the economy and about welfare and benefit issues. From March until July, he live-streamed Sunday worship from his home in Fareham while churches were closed due to the COVID pandemic. During one such service, he was surprised by the Bishop of Salisbury, the Right Reverend Nicholas Holtham, who unexpectedly joined the live stream to help him celebrate 40 years since being ordained. The Right Reverend Christopher Foster has been Bishop of Portsmouth since 2010, after being ordained in 1980. He married Sally in 2006, following the death of his first wife, Julia, in 2005. He has 2 grown-up children, Richard and Miriam.
This is Chris reading an article from the Isle of Wight County Press. COVID vaccine arrives on the Isle of Wight. History was made on Tuesday as the island's first COVID-19 vaccination clinic opened its doors. Carisbrooke Health Centre in Carisbrooke Road, Newport, is the first site on the Isle of Wight to begin vaccinating people in what is the biggest immunisation programme in the nation's history. The first patient through the doors was Kenneth Killeen, 98, from Newport. Mr. Killeen, who served in the RAF during the Second World War, was the first island person to receive the vaccination. He said, "It's not been an easy year for anyone, particularly with lockdown. A lot of elderly people were confined in their homes. I didn't expect to be front of the queue, but very pleased to be. I fully respect people who won't want it on various grounds, but if you can, you should. Particularly when you think of medical science now to how it was 98 years ago when I arrived." Mr. Killeen, who has 2 children, 2 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, received his vaccination at 1:46 p.m. Giving the vaccination was Dr. Maito Kakalumo, GP at Carisbrooke Health Centre and Clinical Director of the Central and West Health Alliance Primary Care Network. She said, "This has been a really busy but a very exciting week for us, and we are proud to be delivering the COVID-19 vaccination. We are so pleased to be able to offer the vaccination to island patients, and I really want to say thank you to the whole GP practice team and our partners who have done an incredible job and standing up this clinic so quickly. I am so proud to be working with such supportive colleagues who pulled out all the stops to get us going. Of course, though, we know that this will be a marathon and not a sprint. While it's great we can start the vaccination programme, we know that the virus will still be in the community for many more months. This is why it's important we continue to follow government guidance, that we wear face coverings, wash our hands and observe social distancing. The latest phase of the vaccine rollout is being coordinated by GP-led primary care networks, with more practices and community pharmacies in other parts of England joining on a phased basis during December and in the coming months. Andrea Finch, lead practice nurse, said, "It's really exciting that we are one of the first GP hubs in the country to offer the vaccination and such a privilege to be able to vaccinate patients. Although the vaccine has been developed very quickly, we know there is still a way to go, so we all need to carry on with what we're doing and remember, hands, face, space. All those vaccinated will need a booster jab 21 days later. The Pfizer vaccine needs to be stored at -70 degrees before being thawed out and can only be moved 4 times within that cold chain before being used."
This is Brian reading an article from On the Wight. Footbridges over railway line to be refurbished during Island Line works. This will impact local residents, so if you know someone who uses the footbridges regularly, pass this on to them. Work to refurbish 2 busy footbridges over the railway line in Lake is to be undertaken by Island Roads early in the new year. The footbridges at Skew Bridge and Alresford Road will both be refurbished to ensure they are at the standards required by the Highways PFI contract. Skew Bridge will be taken down in sections and stripped back and repainted off-site before being reassembled and brought back into use. The deck plates, the footway surface, will be replaced as part of the work. Because there is more available space at its location, the work to Alresford Bridge will be done with the structure in situ. Again, this will be stripped back, repainted, and any necessary repairs to the steel structure and concrete deck will be undertaken. Though subject to change, the work on both bridges is currently scheduled to begin on the 12th of January. Traffic management, as well as plans to allow people to cross the railway line, will be required during work. Plans are being finalised and will be announced in detail early next year, but it is envisaged there will be a road closure on the main Shanklin to Lake Road in place for a day while Skew Bridge is removed in sections, and then a further day closure around 5 weeks later when the structure is reassembled on site. Work on Alresford Bridge will begin at the same time as Skew, but last up to 8 weeks. As the work is being done while the bridge is in situ, no road closure is necessary, but Island Roads is looking at solutions to ensure pedestrians are catered for while the bridge is out of use. Jason Bolter, Island Roads project manager, said the work had been timed to coincide with improvement work being carried out by Island Line during which trains were not running. He said, "While we seek to keep disruption to a minimum, it is unfortunately not possible to carry out these refurbishments without some localised inconvenience, particularly to bridge users. We are working with the Isle of Wight Council, examining ways of maintaining connectivity while the improvements take place, and will keep the local community well informed of arrangements before and during the work."
St Mary's gets £800,000 from government Build Back Better scheme. From Isle of Wight County Press. Iona. St Mary's Hospital is to receive £829,000 of government investment to undertake improvements, including the refurbishment of the maternity unit. The money comes as part of the government's plans, announced last week, to build back better and eradicate the maintenance backlog in NHS hospitals. An investment fund of £600 million was set aside to tackle critical maintenance work. Health bosses on the island said the investment would enable the Isle of Wight NHS Trust to address some long-standing issues and upgrade parts of St Mary's Hospital to benefit staff, patients and visitors. The first project on the list is the refurbishment of the maternity unit, including the nurse call system. Other projects include plans to upgrade public toilets, safety measures to upgrade fire doors, and improvements to the heating system. All work is due to be completed by the spring. Darren Cattle, Director of Finance Estates at IM&T and Deputy Chief Executive at the Trust, said, "We are really pleased to have successfully secured over £800,000 to support important improvement work at St Mary's Hospital. The funding will benefit staff, patients and visitors through an improved environment such as refurbished public toilet facilities and improved heating along with other essential works. We will also be refurbishing and redecorating our maternity unit, which will be a nice welcome to all the new babies." The news was also welcomed by the island's MP, Bob Seeley. He said, "I'm glad the government is yet again investing in the Isle of Wight healthcare. Last year, we secured £48 million to upgrade parts of St Mary's and improve the patient experience through new innovative IT projects. This year, we've seen the Isle of Wight NHS Trust's £90 million worth of debt written off by the government, and now more money is coming forward to address maintenance backlogs." I'm grateful to the government for delivering on its commitments to providing extra funding for NHS services, both nationally and here on the Isle of Wight. When I became the island's MP, I promised to push the government for more funding for the island. Now that is happening, but my promise does not end here. I'll keep fighting the island's corner to ensure we get what we need.
Hi, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined Isle of Wight Waste and Recycling Collections for 2020 revealed. Islanders are being advised that waste, recycling and garden subscription collections are changing over the Christmas and New Year period. But the Isle of Wight Council says many households will only see 1 week of change to their usual waste collection day. Between Monday 21st and Friday 25th of December, all households will have their bins collected on a different day than normal. For most people, this will simply be a day earlier. However, collections due on Monday 21st of December will instead be on Saturday 19th of December. Collections then return to normal the following week, other than for those homes with collections due on Friday 1st of January, with waste or recycling collections that day being completed on Saturday January the 2nd instead. All collections return to normal the following week from Monday 4th of January 2021. Garden waste collections will also follow the same amended timetable. If you have a garden waste subscription, you can pop your real Christmas tree out alongside your garden bin for recycling. So if your waste was due to be collected on Monday 21st of December, it will now be collected on Saturday 19th. If Tuesday 22nd, it will be Monday the 21st. If Wednesday the 23rd, it will be Tuesday the 22nd. If Thursday the 24th, it will be Wednesday the 23rd. If on Friday, the 25th of December, Christmas Day, it will be collected on Thursday 24th of December. Monday the 28th of December, Tuesday the 29th, Wednesday the 30th and Thursday the 31st are all unchanged. Friday the 1st of January 2021, that's New Year's Day, will have a collection instead on Saturday January the 2nd. To assist residents with their waste and recycling, households will be allowed to place excess polystyrene in a clear or white sack between Saturday 19th December and Friday 8th of January on their refuse collection week only. Excess polystyrene or other waste placed in black sacks will not be collected. Afton Marsh Recycling Centre in Freshwater will open as usual on its normal opening days and hours. Lynn Bottom Recycling Centre near Newport will be open as normal other than on Christmas Day when it will be closed. Bulky waste collections will run as normal other than on Christmas Day and New Year's Day when they will be unavailable. Natasha Dix, the Council's Waste and Environment Manager, said, "The Christmas period can mean more waste, but like the rest of the year, we can still recycle most of it if we all put it in the right bins. You might not be sure where to put some of the seasonal things, maybe wrapping paper or bubble wrap, so check the Council website for the definitive list. Get your waste sorted and we can maintain the island's position as one of the leading counties for recycling across England, even at Christmas. More information on waste collections can be accessed at www.iwight.com/waste.
This is Patrina reading an article from the Island Echo. Tier 1 success. The Isle of Wight remains one of the safest places in the country. Continued adherence to the COVID rules and regulations in place has seen the Isle of Wight retain its Tier 1 status in Thursday's government review, providing a further boost to the local community. The news means that the Isle of Wight is still one of the safest places in the country in terms of the COVID-19 virus. However, the same can't be said for just 5 miles away in Portsmouth. Havant, Gosport and Pompey have all been thrown into Tier 3 restrictions. Ferries will continue to run to and fro from Portsmouth, but those living in Portsmouth shouldn't be travelling to the island. Islanders are being encouraged not to visit Portsmouth for Christmas shopping due to the additional risk it poses. That said, cross-Solent operators have confirmed they have no authority to question why people are travelling. Speaking about today's confirmation of Tier 1 status, Council leader Dave Stewart has said, "With the rollout of vaccinations against COVID-19 starting earlier this week, today's announcement that the island will remain in Tier 1 is a further boost for our community. Together, we have reduced our infection rate to one of the lowest in the country. But as we enter the festive season, we must not let our guard down. We do not want to undo the fantastic work of our public health team in keeping our residents safe, and that is why I am asking those who visit us to follow the rules. Please do not travel to and from the Isle of Wight to a Tier 3 area, which now includes Portsmouth, Gosport and Havant, as well as many other areas in the south east, unless it's for work, health or other exempt reasons. Please do not travel from the island to a Tier 3 area for Christmas shopping. There are so many local businesses and food and drink providers that we can all support this Christmas. Any attempt to stretch the rules would result in a further lockdown in January and bring more pressure to many businesses that are already in a fragile position as a result of the trading challenges they have already faced this year. They have worked extremely hard to maintain COVID-safe premises, and I thank them for that. We're working in partnership with colleagues from the police to mitigate any issues caused by people travelling between tiers. That includes ferry operators and other partner agencies. This is all about informing people of the restrictions that are in place and asking them to play their part by adhering to the rules. Looking ahead to 2021, I hope we will retain our Tier 1 status with all of the freedom it brings. But if we are to do so, we must continue to make good choices to prevent the spread of the virus. Remember? Hands, face, space, ventilate. Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley has added, "It is right that the Isle of Wight has retained its Tier 1 status, and I thank ministers for continuing to listen. This is good news for residents who can continue to benefit from more relaxed rules, but it is also good for our local businesses who can continue to trade under lighter restrictions. With the first of the COVID-19 vaccinations now being administered to islanders, I hope that we are now at the beginning of the end in defeating the virus, which is the best Christmas present we could ask for. However, I will be talking to the police and the council about the situation now that labouring areas on the mainland are in Tier 3. I would also urge residents living in areas near us, including Portsmouth, Gosport and Havant, please do not visit the island until restrictions in these areas change, unless it is for essential reasons. I am very well aware of how responsible island businesses have been in ensuring that they can serve their customers safely. We will welcome back visitors from Tier 3 areas as soon as those restrictions have been lifted. We on the island also need to be mindful when visiting Tier 2 and Tier 3 areas. We should not be going to areas with higher infection rates unless it is for essential reasons. We don't want to be doing Christmas shopping and bringing COVID back to the island, especially since 1 in 3 people who have it do not know they have it.
This is Michael reading an article from the Isle of Wight County Press. Ventnor GP and Isle of Wight health boss deny bribery charges. A trial will take place in May after a senior Isle of Wight NHS official and an Island GP appeared in court, where they denied accepting more than £75,000 between them in bribes. An Isle of Wight businessman is charged alongside the pair. They are accused of promoting specific drug companies and their products to GPs, the Daily Telegraph reported. Paul Jerram, 67, from Shanklin, formerly head of medicines management for the Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, denies 8 separate offences dating back to 2011. They are related to bribery and improper performance of his functions as an NHS worker. GP Dr. David Turner, 64, from Ventnor, faces 6 counts of bribery relating to the same offences. The pair are accused of accepting payments to set up meetings between pharmaceutical companies and advisory boards responsible for deciding which drugs are used by GPs and hospitals. In 2015, an undercover operation by the Daily Telegraph promoted an investigation into the alleged activities of Mr. Jerram. When the Prescription Medicines Code of Practice Authority began looking at the allegations, Mr. Jerram was suspended from the CCG role. Mr. Jerram and Dr. Turner are alleged to have been working with businessman Noel Staunton. Mr. Staunton, 59, from Seaview, ran a pharmaceutical consultancy company called 3i Consultancy Limited. He is accused of offering money to Mr. Jerram and Dr. Turner to promote drugs being manufactured by companies he represented. Cathal Daly, 49, an NHS pharmacist at Elmham Surgery, Norfolk, also appeared in court. He is accused of agreeing to receive £100 per month retainer from Mr. Staunton in exchange for access to confidential medical records and databases. Mr. Daly is also alleged to have accepted £1,000 for helping the South Norfolk CCG sign off on a rebate deal with a drug company. At a hearing at Southampton Crown Court earlier this year, the 4 men denied the charges. Mr. Staunton faces 3 counts of bribery, 2 of which relate to the alleged offers and payments made to Mr. Jerram and Dr. Turner. A 5-week trial is scheduled to start in May 2021, reported the Daily Telegraph. The 4 men were granted unconditional bail.
Hello, this is Ruth Hollingshead. I'd just like to say, on behalf of all the trustees at Site for Wight, a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year.
And now, Away in a Manger, performed by Noah, aged 6.
Oh, this is Noah reading Away in a Manger. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the bright sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle are lowing, the baby awakes, but little Lord Jesus no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my side until morning is nigh. Be near me, Lord Jesus. I ask thee to stay close by me forever, and love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care. Fit us to heaven to live with thee there.
Scaffolding news. Newport area, 66 St James Street and Halifax High Street. Shanklin, 9 Regent Street, Sandown area, 2 Pierce Street, Trouville Hotel, Sandown Seafront, Wight City Culver Parade, 20 High Street. Ryde area, 11 to 12 Esplanade, 4 High Street. Cowes area, The Lodge Church Road, NatWest Bank High Street, Carphone Warehouse High Street. Freshwater area, 3A Clarence Buildings, The Avenue. Skip news for week commencing December 21st, 2020. Cowes area, 72 High Street. Gurnard area, Plot 1 Shore Road and 101 Palace Road. Seaview area, outside of Woodlands, Ryde Road.
Sight for Wight would like to thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Talking News. We would also like to thank our volunteers for reading, and a particular thank you to the Isle of Wight County Press, Isle of Wight Observer, On the Wight, and Isle of Wight Radio. A special thank you must go to Vectis Radio, who has helped us get vital information to our members. My name is Chris Kane, Marketing and Events, and on behalf of our CEO, Lisa Hollyhead, and all staff at Sight for Wight, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year.